Hey, hey there, everyone. It's your boy, young Alan Moore. I just saw a picture of me and him side by side earlier, and the gray is. I don't look gray in this light, but I'm very gray, I promise. I'm looking like Alan Moore more and more every day. But yeah, how's it going, everyone? It's your boy, B3. We're vlogging, kind of back with some comic book stuff. Speaking of Alan Moore, I mean it's not out. It's not based on any Alan Moore. Speaking of comics, I guess today I wanted to talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home. We all know that trailer dropped. We all know it was insane. I did a video a while back and made some posts on Twitter. It might not have been. It might not have even been in a video. It might have just been in Twitter, where I was like, Peter's gonna have Doctor Strange fucking use magic to try to wipe his secret identity from everyone's minds, which he did in the comics. And I actually remember when that spell was kind of broken during Spider Island and stuff. All fun. I predicted that, but all the multiverse stuff going on, a lot of people also predicted. One, because of kind of leaked set photos with like Toby and them around, William Dafoe kind of not answering the question if he's gonna return in the film, and of course Funko just straight up leaking collectibles intentionally. I do have a confirmation of that from an insider in the industry that Funko does do that. It is someone I know and trust who has worked in the collectibles industry for basically the entire time they've been in the workforce, decades. Turns out Funko doesn't leak them for the reason I thought, but they still leak them. So that 3-pack for, I'm trying not to get too specific, but as soon as I say this, you're gonna know that Funko Pop 3-pack for Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it's very obvious which characters I think you think it's gonna be. Yeah, fuck you, Funko. And I know it was like not a final product image, but that's kind of the reason you leaked it, right? To see what feedback would be, even though you're legally not supposed to reveal those characters, which is why you have to do it as a leak. So the No Way Home trailer, did confirm a lot of stuff. Confirmed multiverse splitting. We got a hint at Dafoe Green Goblin. Who is my favorite on-screen Green Goblin of all time? That's counting cartoons and everything. Dafoe, I know a lot of people joke about the freaking Dafoe Green Goblin. I loved him. I think Dafoe is great. I'm a big Dafoe guy. Oh my god, we saw Doc Ock. We saw his face. The Doc Ock. Pretty crazy. It's pretty wild. Part of me feels like there should be one Andrew Garfield Spider-Man villain, but I think the only one anyone would care to see is the Lizard. Because I liked... Okay, so the first Amazing Spider-Man film isn't good per se, but I really enjoyed it back in the day. These days I watch it and I'm kind of just tired of it because I've seen it so many times. Like when it was in the Dollar Theater, when it was on the campus Dollar Theater when I attended UGA for a while, I saw it like every night it was there. That I could, because I loved that movie back then, but now I've seen it so many times that it's kind of just gotten stale. I feel like the only villain from that anyone would care to see is the fucking goddamn Lizard. And I mean, yeah, you could have the Rhino come in and actually finally get to see the Rhino do stuff, because he was just kind of tagged onto the end of the movie. But I just don't feel like it'd be satisfying. I feel like the Lizard would take up space and just no one would really want to see him. I don't need to see Harry Osborn Green Goblin from the Sam Raimi or Mark Webb stuff. I know the second film was the second Amazing Spider-Man directed by Mark Webb? I honestly don't remember. Anyways, So, I think I'd kind of be fine without a Garfield villain showing up, because I certainly don't want Electro. Jamie Foxx is an incredible actor, but the Electro was fucking stupid. And then you also have the Hairy Goblin, who was also dumb, and we're already going to have a Goblin. But, I mean, I could see a way to do Harry in that. Like, fucking, because remember, Harry Osborn in the Andrew Garfield stuff hated his dad, resented the fuck out of him. And, like, Harry, which was different from Harry in the, Sam Raimi trilogy, which was nice. Because in the Sam Raimi trilogy, Harry really wanted love from his dad, and he felt like his dad was like neglecting him, and that his dad saw Peter as a son more than he saw Harry as a son, so Harry was kind of jealous of Peter in that respect. But then when Osborn was killed, Harry like missed him and wanted his father back because he never got the chance to really connect with him, and he didn't know he was the Green Goblin and stuff, which also helped. But then in the Andrew Garfield one, Norman Osborn like dies at the beginning. Harry is glad to be rid of him, but he has the same like degenerative terminal disease that his dad had, and he's not as scared of the disease as he is scared of ending up like his father. I think that's something a lot of people missed. He wasn't afraid of the disease because it was going to kill him, but because he was afraid it would make him more like his dad. He thought that having the disease would make him cruel and neglect the ones he loved, just like his father did. I feel like that didn't register with a lot of people. Because once you realize that, a lot of the movie makes more sense. Because remember, Harry Osborn's like, I want to inject Spider-Man's blood into myself just to try to desperately cure myself, even though, my dad was still an old man when he died of the disease, so I still have decades of life. It won't be the most comfortable life because I have a horrible, incurable disease, but I'm rich and I can put a lot of money into research, and there's all the research that was done for my dad that I can build on top of that for decades. Like, if he was just afraid of the disease, Harry would have probably thought a bit more logically like that. But it's not the disease he was afraid of. He was afraid of his father, which is why he was so desperate and willing to just inject anything into him, and why he went crazy even before injecting goblin shit into himself, right? So, I still don't want to see him, though, because I'm not a fan of the actor, and it was kind of fucking stupid, because Harry's mad at Peter for not giving him what he wanted for a cure, but then he got it from another source, and it nearly killed him, and he had to go into a life support bodysuit, and it deformed him. And it was like, yeah, that's why Peter didn't give it to you, but you're mad at him and want to kill him and his girlfriend because he tried to save you from that fate that you now know definitely would have happened if he did it, even though he told... I don't want to see that Harry again. But I thought of a cool way you could kind of introduce him. Like, maybe he comes out, he's trying to fuck with Garfield Spider-Man, and, the Defoe Goblin is back trying to fuck with Tobey Spider-Man. And this Defoe Goblin, obviously, because I don't want it to be Harry Goblin from Sam Raimi, this Defoe Goblin would need to be from a different universe as Tobey Spider-Man, because I want the Tobey Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that will likely appear in this film to be straight out of the continuities. Neither of them died. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of left off in a place where we sort of just didn't fucking have anything, which is wild. Pretty wild. But the Sam Raimi one kind of left off in a place that was endable, But it'd still be nice to kind of see him in his later years, like what older Spider-Man is up to. Maybe he's got a kid he has to get back to, Spiderling or something like that. That'd be cool. Or the Spider-Girl and Benji. He's got those kids. That'd be cool too. With May Parker, Spider-Girl. Mayday, Parker. So maybe like those two goblins get together, and maybe Defoe Goblin is about to kill Garfield Spider-Man. And then Harry Goblin is like, no, and maybe like Garfield Spider-Man looks at Defoe Goblin and is like, Harry, please don't. Because Harry's the only goblin Garfield Spider-Man's ever seen. So he assumes this fully masked goblin is also Harry. And then Defoe Goblin's like, Harry? That little twerp could never be a fucking goblin. That's why I killed him. Because once again, this Defoe Goblin has to be from a different continuity than the regular Tobey Spider-Man, because he's dead in the regular continuity. So he's from a multiverse maybe where he killed Spider-Man and is kind of just terrorizing New York all the fucking time, And so Harry hears this and he's like, you're fucking Norman? And remember, he fucking hates his dad and all the hang-ups. And when he sees his dad, who he hates, about to kill Peter, maybe it kind of clicks in his head that Peter wasn't so bad to begin with. Maybe it clicks that Peter was right. And and that his father is exactly what he became. He didn't want to be his father, but that's what he is. He looks at himself on the glider in the green fighting Spider-Man. He is exactly the same as his dad. And it hits him that trying to not be his father is what made him become his father. Like kind of how like Anakin Skywalker trying to stop Padme's death is what caused Padme's death. And so maybe he like fights the Defoe Goblin, and Harry maybe sacrifices himself to defeat the Defoe Goblin and kills the Defoe Goblin as well. That'd be dope. And I have another scene actually very similar to that in mind. Like maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is in a life-threatening situation. And then out of some fucking wormhole, Sandman shows up. And it's not the Sandman from a different continuity. It's the same exact Sandman from Spider-Man 3 come to aid the same exact Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3. Because remember, they kind of like came to an understanding with each other at the end of that movie, which was nice, but then he just kind of blew away in the wind, and it was like, oh, okay, so he's not really gonna pay for his crimes then? Because I still feel like he wasn't fully redeemed, at the end of that movie. Like Harry, definitely. Sandman? Like he came around in the end, and he probably wouldn't have even been a very big threat to Spider-Man if Spider-Man didn't have the symbiote and was aggressive towards him. But, maybe Sandman could come back, sacrifice his life to save Maguire Spider-Man, so Maguire Spider-Man can get the upper hand on a new enemy. I think that would be neat. And I know that's basically the same thing as the Harry scene, just with a different Spider-Man and a different villain getting redeemed. But you see, these scenes that I'm pitching you, they don't all need to be in the same movie. They don't all need to be in the film. Honestly, this film could be bad. Spider-Man Far From Home is going to have so many characters that it honestly could be bad. Luckily, they hopefully don't have to do a lot of establishment or development with, the characters we've already seen in other film franchises. Hopefully, they'll just kind of do what they did in Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming and just kind of assume we know the lore. Because, they never fucking talk about Uncle Ben in the MCU. Because they're just like, fans know that. We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to show it. They know what happened. So here it is. And that's good, and it really worked out for the better. it really helped establish this Spider-Man, our current, Tom Holland boyo. It really did. So that's great. And hopefully they'll just kind of do that with the other Spideys. Maybe mention some things that have happened, because Tobey's obviously going to be much older. So maybe mention some things that have happened. And even Garfield will be almost a decade older. So, yeah, like a decade older. Or something. I don't know. No, not quite. I'm thinking, because Amazing Spider-Man was in 2012. I'm thinking 2012. But then Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a couple years after that. My bad, homies. I think it might have been like 2014, 2015. I don't know. But yeah, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man can pretty much pick up where he left off. Honestly, with him kind of coming to terms with things and deciding to be Spider-Man again. And then the Tobey one, I'd like to see like a later Tobey. Maybe mention that he has kids that he has to get back to or something. But Garfield can just be where he left off. Honestly. And as much as I'd love to see a Miles Spider-Man, I don't feel like there's room for one, and that might kind of also diminish the potential of a Miles Spider-Man actually being part of the main continuity in the MCU down the line. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, I would have been fine with the MCU just ending after Endgame. It felt like such a natural end. Honestly, I think we could have just ended there, because I'm getting kind of sick of superhero movies, I'm not going to lie. But I'll never get sick of Spider-Man. I'll never get sick of Spider-Man, ever, in my life. I love Spider-Man. He was a huge part of my childhood, and he's just a super relatable and great character with a very interesting rogues gallery and etc. Super awesome. So yeah, that's kind of scene 2. And then I have my best scene I'm saving for last, but scene 3 that I think would be cool would maybe be like Dafoe Goblin kind of setting Ned up to be Hobgoblin in another film. Because I feel like if we have Dafoe Goblin and we have our Doc Ock, I need to say the actors' names on some of these characters, but not on others, because Doc Ock didn't really have another actor, and neither did the Rhino. So I don't need to mention it. But yeah, so if you're gonna have Doc Ock in this film from another dimension and Green Goblin from another dimension in this film, both of which are just straight up confirmed. Even though we didn't see Dafoe Goblin, we heard his laugh and we saw his specific design for the pumpkin bomb. What if he, to hurt Spider-Man, injects Ned with the Goblin Serum? And maybe it seems like Ned's fine at first, but there's an after credit scene or a mid credit scene or something where you kind of see him starting to go crazy, because the character's name is that of a hobgoblin, even though he seems like he's supposed to be Ganke, like Miles Morales' best friend. So he looks and acts and everything like the Ganke character, but his name is that of one of the hobgoblins, if I remember correctly. And also, I think he's fit now. I think he got, he lost a lot of weight, and good job, bro. He's never going to watch this, but congrats on that, dude. Congrats. Absolutely congrats. But, that kind of makes me feel like if they're having him get fit, I mean, he could have just done it himself for his own health. Perfectly valid and good and fine. But if the studio paid for it, that means he's almost definitely going to be Hobgoblin or something, right? But so the faux Goblin, putting the Goblin Serum in Ned and making him go Hobgoblin would be fucking awesome. Because I don't want a Green Goblin in the main continuity. I don't want it. We've seen Green Goblin 3 times over the years. A Norman, 2 Harrys, and we're about to have the return of one of the Normans. That's 4 times we've had Green Goblin. We don't need a Green Goblin for the MCU. But a Hobgoblin is a must-have. Most people I know like Hobgoblin more than Green Goblin. They just do. And I think a lot of that is because specifically of the Spider-Man animated series. Because I think Hobgoblin was more interesting than Green Goblin in that show. I'm not going to lie. Because Hobgoblin had this air of mystery about him and stuff. I liked Hobgoblin more. And I think he came first. Did he come first in the 90s animated series? Because I want to say Norman made the Hobgoblin before he went Green Goblin, which is very interesting and different, and I really liked that. Like, he was someone working for Norman, and he was very mysterious, and I don't think in that series we ever found out who he was. I haven't seen 90 Spider-Man all the way through. I haven't. I'm not even sure it's available all the way through, because I don't think there's any complete series box sets, to my knowledge. A lot of older shows like that don't have those, and only some of it appears to be on Disney Plus, and I think a lot of it was taken down and then maybe some was put back up. I don't know, but I know it was never complete on Disney Plus, to my knowledge, because I think Sony owns it, so Disney, they're just not letting Disney put the whole thing on there. I don't know. But yeah, Hobgoblin should be the MCU's Goblin. It's a fan favorite. I think he has a cooler design on average. I think he's more... Hey, buddy. Hey, bud. He's hanging out, and he's normally outside for a good portion of the day, but it's just way too hot. Are you a good boy? Are you sniffing? You smell... I know this is a very white person thing to say, but do you smell my other pets on me? Huh? This isn't my dog. I'm just taking care of him for a couple days. Yeah, you're a good boy. So yeah, that scene 3 is basically Dafoe creating MCU's Hobgoblin. Scene 4, if I could only have one of these scenes, I would pick scene 4 just for the meme. All right? So as we all know and have known for a long time, J.K. Simmons is reprising his role of J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU, which is awesome, because usually when there's a new continuity for something, I don't want a returning actor. With the multiverse stuff, makes more sense, right? Like, of course I want the original actors back if it's the characters from that dimension, you know? Of course I want them back then. But usually I'm up for recasting, because it'll make the character, different, which will make them a bit more interesting. And also we get to see like another actor's take, and it gives other actors work, and etc. So I would normally be down with recasting. And I made a big spiel about recasting on a recent live stream. We talked about recasting Black Panther, and I'll probably do a video on that at some point. And whether it was kind of a debate on whether or not it's disrespectful, and I won't tell you what our outcome was because I want to do that in a vlog too. But yeah, so they recast him, they recast him, but they didn't recast him, if that makes sense. They cast him again as J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons, who's a fantastic actor, and JJ is a fantastic character. But I'm glad to see Simmons back because he is J. Jonah Jameson. He embodied everything that JJ is perfectly. No, and not only because the character was written well, but he brought it to the table. He looks exactly like him in his character makeup. He looks straight out of the fucking comic. He really does. And his voice, it's exactly what you would imagine him to sound like. Kind of an old newspaper guy who's always angry. Like, he sounds exactly like you imagine Jonah's voice when you read a comic. And if you never read a Spider-Man comic before seeing his performance, then you read it in his voice afterwards. You read him as J.K. Simmons. It's incredible. And he just played it perfectly. Because, JJ's a more complicated character than he seems on the surface. He's quick to anger, and he thinks Spider-Man's a menace, but he only stretches the truth if he really thinks that's the right thing to do. He's ethical, but he's not as ethical as he thinks he is. And over the years, the amount of character progression he's had in the comics has been top-notch. Like, he knows Peter's Spider-Man, and they get along well. They're literally family now. They're family members. They are related by marriage. That is true. And they were kind of already family in a way before that. But, JJ just really fucking has come a long way. And that performance is going to live on forever. When J.K. Simmons is able to play J. Jonah Jameson, he should. He has defined the role for generations, and he will always be remembered for that part. Always. For the rest of human, existence, he will be remembered for that. But we have the multiverse thing going on, and he's played JJ in 2 continuities. So wouldn't it be fucking hilarious if both the JJs met, both played by J.K. Simmons, like on green screen or something, and they start arguing with each other? And this would be a difficult argument to write based on the way I'm about to pitch it, but they're both making the same exact points, just worded differently. Like, they're both saying the same thing, but both of them, because they're JJ, kind of refuse to agree with each other, and they refuse to kind of back off and just take another look at what's being said and what's happening, because they're both stubborn old JJ. So they're arguing with each other. They're saying the same things, but both of them refuse to back down because of their ego. Can you imagine that? J.K. Simmons JJ arguing with himself, but agreeing with himself, but refusing to back down until the other admits they're right. And then maybe like the Spider-Men are there and they interrupt and are like, JJ, is this really the time? And then both the JJs in unison turn and point at the Spider-Man and go, "You stay out of this!" And they get back to arguing. And maybe the spiders just leave them there and leave the JJs arguing. And maybe, like, not the mid-credit scene, but like the very, very end credit scene is maybe just like it shows a dark room, like it's nighttime and the lights are off and the JJs are still just arguing with each other. Like, the events are all over, and Jameson hasn't even noticed because they're both just still arguing with each other hours and hours, maybe even a couple days later. That would be so fucking hilarious. That'd be a great meme. That would make a good internet video, honestly. It's so fucking funny. I pitched that to some friends earlier, and they were like, "Holy shit, we'd pay just to see that. We'd pay full ticket price, fucking IMAX just for that scene." It's so funny. Oh my god. Every time I picture it, it makes me smile. I love J.K. Simmons. I love JJ. I think it would be wonderful. So yeah, those are my 4 scenes. Basically just 2 of them are characters from different Spider-Man trilogies getting redemption, sacrificing themselves to save the spiders. And then one of them I would say is probably just set up for the next film with Hobgoblin, because I do think Hobgoblin should be an MCU thing. I feel like Spider-Man is a character that should probably be getting maybe more attention. I know the main reason he isn't is because of the Sony partnership, and Disney can't do whatever they want. But both companies are greedy as hell, and that's kind of getting in their way. But yeah, I think that would be good, because Spider-Man is... The MCU, I don't know if you've noticed, but the MCU is kind of shifting away from superhero movies almost. Like, Shang-Chi is a martial arts film. Black Widow is a, like, spy espionage film. WandaVision was kind of like a mystery comedy kind of thing. It wasn't really a superhero show. There was no action at all until the last episode. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was kind of like a war espionage drama, you know? Maybe even like a crime drama in some ways. And then Loki was a romance film. It was kind of like a romance mystery. So the MCU is kind of moving away from superheroes. Blade will likely be just a monster movie. And I'm all for this, by the way. I'm all for all of this, because I think the MCU needs to become more diverse in its genres if it's willing to survive. Like, give us some monster movies. That's what's popular. I don't know if you've looked at Marvel and DC Comics right now, but they're kind of really promoting monster stuff. Marvel's two biggest books were Venom and Immortal Hulk for a while. Both monster books, both horror books, not superhero books. And then DC announced, like, fucking, they got that Swamp Thing miniseries. They got like DC versus vampires coming, and they got that thing with Red Hood leading an army of zombie supervillains coming. Like, they're focusing on monster books because the superhero boom is ending. It's ending, and the monster boom, it's already fucking here. So that's what the MCU needs to do. With the superhero boom dying, they need to diversify the genres, and they're doing that, and that makes me happy. But also, Spider-Man's one of those heroes people are always going to go to the theater to see, no matter what. People are always going to go see Spider-Man. So I think Spider-Man should really be kind of the new tentpole of the MCU going forward, superhero-wise. He just should be. He just should be. Honestly. But yeah, you know, that's really it. And then, of course, that last scene is just a comedy scene that I feel like would never make it into the movie. There's no way. But to be honest, it would be a super hilarious internet video. If someone wants to collab on that, fucking hit me the fuck up. Like an animator, you want to collab on that? Or like we could do a stop motion with action figures. Let's fucking do it. I will supply the figures. I don't have JJ's, but give me an excuse to buy them, you know? But that's it. I know this was over half an hour long, but I just had so much to say because, you know, I wanted to talk about No Way Home in the beginning to kind of establish things, and then I had 4 scenes to give, but I also had to give a lot of information about other films and etc. to kind of make everything make sense. And then, you know, I had my closing stuff about how Spider-Man is one of the things that would keep the MCU alive, because, you know, people are going to get bored of superheroes. It's already started. So that's just what we need. Diversify it, but Spider-Man can stay a superhero, because everyone's always going to go see Spider-Man, just like they're always going to go see Batman. It's true. But that's it. Thank you all once again for your support. I'm fucking starving. I'm going to throw some laundry in the dryer. I got some Safari Sams to edit for the main channel. If you don't watch our show, Safari Sam, on the main channel, definitely check it out. I got some editing to do, you know, in that case. Got a doggy to take care of. And I got schoolwork to do as well. Plus, I'm prepping for a con. I'm going to a Power Ranger convention this weekend. I would never have bought con tickets during a pandemic, but I am vaccinated. It's a very small con. And friends bought me the tickets a couple months ago when COVID was starting to go down, but now it's back up with the variant and everything. But they bought me the tickets. I'm going to be safe. I'll have my Tokusatsu Godzilla. Technically, it's not Toku because it's CG. But I'll have my Godzilla mask on the whole time. You know, it's kind of irrelevant, you know, genre to wear there. So I'll have that on the whole time, except for the one day where I'm wearing an actual Power Ranger helmet. You'll see my cosplay in the vlogs. I'm going to vlog the whole con. I always vlog cons. I'm going to vlog the con. It's going to happen. And you'll see my cosplay there. But if you want to see the making of the cosplay, there are making of videos for it on Patreon. One has not been posted yet because it's taking a lot of editing, and I need to still film the end of it because we modded and painted a Nerf gun to make it a Power Ranger weapon. And there's going to be a huge video of that with like time lapses and etc. that goes up. And I think that'll be really fun. But we also have like unboxings and pictures and video of all the components for it. It's a really cool one. It's a twist on a Mighty Morphin Ranger. So definitely check that out. I know the video is really long, but I'm just going to sit here and promote my other content because that's what YouTubers do, right? So that's it. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description below. Thank you very much. I got to get the fuck out of here before this hits 40 minutes. This is already way too fucking long.